Today marks the beginning of a very fun series that I've dubbed Rookie Roll Call. Let's get it.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner _ Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, free wherever you get your podcast, and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I've been hosting this show since 2017, been in sports radio in Phoenix since 2011. So thank you for being a part of my journey. And as we pivot into the 2024 season, what's hoped to be a much more fruitful experience for everybody involved. Today marks the beginning of something that I've been trying to put together for a long time, trying to figure out what to name it, trying to figure out how to package it. And I think I've come to, what the final product will be. This series is going to be called Rookie Roll Call. Okay. I'm going to go over 6, 7, 8, 9 of the Cardinals draft picks and get on the Locked On College Football host for that respective team to get some insight into what we experienced with them in college last year and what the Cardinals can experience for years to come wearing Cardinals uniforms on Sunday. And I think, you got to start at the top with Marvin Harrison Jr. And before I get to Jay Stevens from Locked On Buckeyes, a couple things have been in the news with Marvin Harrison Jr. that I'm assuming Jay will debunk, as all of us in the Valley really have. The uniform thing with Fanatics, him not signing his contract until yesterday, all of these things, or until, Friday of last week. And people look at it as, oh, he's a diva. There's somebody that's been in the Valley for a long time, actually somebody I used to work with, who has some sort of vendetta after this Marvin Harrison Jr. kid, and I don't really understand it. Oh, he's a diva. Always like his dad. All of these things. Hooey fish. That's what my grandma used to say when she used to get pissed off. Hooey fish. You knew she was mad when she would say that. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be potentially the most important offensive player not named Kyler Murray on the Arizona Cardinals, depending on Drew Petzing's offense, if they're going to run the ball, Trey McBride, whatever it may be. The future pace and goal is that he is going to be a perennial Pro Bowler, fringe All-Pro, wearing 18 on Sundays and game day for the Arizona Cardinals, and this is just the beginning of the journey. So if you think that the noise surrounding him is going to get more quiet, I've got news for you. The Arizona Cardinals haven't been in a position like this since they drafted Larry Fitzgerald in 2003, and that in no way is comparing the two. I think that's a fallacy for so many different ways, so many different reasons. What Marvin Harrison Jr. is the beacon of for this team is hope. It's turning the page. It's Arizona Cardinals 2.0. It's showing that a roster built by Monti Ossenfort over the last 18 months can withstand drafting a wide receiver in the top 5, something that has worked, but isn't by any stretch a surefire path to a Super Bowl. But what Monti Ossenfort did was he built around who was set to be the wide receiver 1, so you could validate taking arguably the best player in the draft at 4 overall. So all of the noise around the uniforms, all the noise about how he's the last guy or second to last guy to get the contract signed who was drafted by the Arizona Cardinals. It's all because people are bored and people are trying to make drama out of a drama-free situation, something for people who've been in the desert a long time aren't used to. They're expecting drama. They're expecting things to go wrong. It's not if, it's when with the last regime. When is this going to crumble? When is this going to go sideways? So kicking off the Rookie Roll Call, mini series here with Marvin Harrison Jr., it's so fun, obviously, because he went, he was their top draft pick. But the future for him and the Cardinals will be linked at least for the next, 4 or 5 years, depending on. But let's hope that he's going to want $50 million 5 years from now. And he's going to hold out like Justin Jefferson. That means that things are going very well in the Valley, that things are moving to plan. So when you look at a guy like him, all he does, like his dad, show up, produce, make it look easy, make opposing DBs look dumb, and better the team for it. So while I've mentioned, I'll continue to talk about this throughout the offseason. We're going to get Jay Stevens here from Locked On Buckeyes in just a minute. This is going to be a run-first offense. And it doesn't matter that they drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. 4 overall. It is going to be a run-first offense. It is going to be it's going to be James Conner. It's going to be Trey Benson. It's going to be Kyler Murray. It's going to be play action, and it's going to be Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. So I don't see a world where you need to force feed him. This isn't DeAndre Hopkins, where he's an established vet, Pro Bowl, multiple playoff appearances. He's going to be a cog in this offense, but the Cardinals have the ecosystem built as such to where he doesn't have to be the guy right away. This offense is going to allow, less bracketed coverage than if he were drafted by the Arizona Cardinals in 2021. It's built completely differently. So what was he like in college? I've had Jay on a couple times before, and we've talked about specific things regarding him, but now that he's an Arizona Cardinal, there's a direct correlative between him in college and, his future pacing goals for the Cardinals on and off the field during his rookie campaign and beyond. So I'm going to get Jay Stevens on. He told me he is honored to be the first guest for Rookie Roll Call. Don't ask him. He told me that. He DM'd me that. He's my buddy. He told me that. Just don't ask him. It's fine. He's going to join me next. We're going to talk about Marvin Harrison Jr. on the field in college. We're going to talk about him off the field in college and how that will translate into the NFL. Jay Stevens, Locked On Buckeyes. Rookie Roll Call Marvin Harrison Jr., Episode 1. It's going to be a fun series. Starts next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience, man. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive, and eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because eBay Motors, with them, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Welcome back, Locked On Cardinals. Alex Clancy here. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button. Turn notifications on. If you want to go leave a review, if you're an auditory-only person, that's cool. I just like that you're here. And everydayers, thanks for hanging out every day. If this is your first listen to Locked On Cardinals, maybe make tomorrow your second listen on this Memorial Day shortened week. No short weeks here on Locked On Cardinals. Jay Stevens, at JStevens07 on Twitter, host of Locked On Buckeyes, joins me today. Jay, I've had you on a couple times to talk about this guy. I had you on to talk about Paris Johnson Jr. 2 years ago before the draft, and that seemed to have worked pretty well thus far. They're going to move him to left tackle, it seems, so everything's working the way it's supposed to. Now, with Marvin Harrison Jr., last year, let's say the quarterback play took a dip after C.J. Stroud left. Okay, we're not here to talk about quarterback play at Ohio State. We're talking about how that affected Marvin Harrison Jr. Okay, he had double-digit touchdowns, upwards of 1,500 yards receiving, irrespective of the actual talent. The dude balled out. And I think one of the knocks that he gets as, Rome Odunze, Malik Neighbors, they're the better receivers, is he makes everything look like it's just an airplane on autopilot, and that's something that I've learned. You told me 2 years ago, but now I've watched a whole bunch of film. Talk to me about what it's like for him, like in college. Just give me an introspection into him between the ears on game day and what you've seen over the last handful of years, regardless of who else was in the wide receiver room with him.
He conducts himself in a different way than most receivers, most football players you or I have ever seen, especially at the college level. He had a level of maturity that was different. Of course, that comes in benefit from his dad. His dad helped him and helped him mature and helped him learn how to be a football player, how to be an elite football player, how to carry yourself, things of that nature. But between the ears, his head, he's almost just one of those guys that different is the only word I can use to describe it. And it's clear on the field. Like, you don't see him out there bicker back and forth with the opposing corner that he knows all week. This guy's a trash talker. This guy is going to try to get into my head. This guy's going to say stuff about my parents and say stuff about stuff I did back in third grade. He doesn't dive into any of that. All he does is just his job. He lines up. He a better run blocker than I think you would expect from an elite receiver, which is one that I'm not saying like he's not Hines Ward. Don't get me wrong, but he is still a better run blocker, which definitely is one thing at the next level. That you talk about the Cardinals being a run-heavy team, a run-first team. That's something that it's going to be something he's going to need to do even better than he did at Ohio State. Because if not, he's probably still going to start. But a lot of people in the area, in the valley, will be saying, "Oh, here we go. Now this guy here's a diva. He only wants to catch the ball and run. He doesn't want to do all the dirty stuff." And so he's just different, man. But I think that's why when he's on the field and we watched him play at Ohio State, it was so special because everything about him was so much different than the other receivers that we're used to watching in Columbus.
So, Jay Stevens, Locked on Buckeyes, that's one thing that if Larry Fitzgerald was an elite blocker for a wide receiver, absolutely elite. Larry was girthier. He was thicker, at least, right out the gate. He put on muscle mass and stuff over his, 4.5 decades in the NFL. That if that's something that you can group Larry Fitzgerald and Marvin Harrison Jr. with, when Marvin Harrison Jr.'s career's over as an Arizona Cardinal, that is going to be a massive, massive victory. Now, let me ask you this, and this is unfair, but I don't care. This is my podcast. I can ask you whatever the hell I want. Is Marvin Harrison Jr. the best receiver out of the last group of guys with Jackson Smith-Njigba, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave? Does Marvin Harrison Jr. have the highest ceiling, or do you already think that he's going to be the best pro, if at all?
I think there's two guys that are in this conversation. Right now, I would say yes, based off what they did at Ohio State. I would say yes. Now, people that are like, what about Njigba? I think Harrison Jr.'s hands, just sure ball catching ability, is better than Njigba's. Now, Njigba does do a lot more stuff in the slot than Harrison Jr. did. Now, if Harrison Jr. played the slot a lot more, I think he would be that mismatch nightmare even worse than he already was. But I think it's between potentially Garrett Wilson and Marvin Harrison Jr. But even then, I'm probably gonna still give the top rank to Marv just because he was just that good. Out of all those guys that I just mentioned, Njigba and Garrett Wilson, but you can't forget Chris Olave. Marv's body control is completely different than those three guys. I have never seen a guy with the body control and field awareness to know where the out-of-bounds line is, realize, hey, I only have to get 1 foot in, not 2 in college, and realize, hey, well, here's a defender, here's where I can contort my body. And I was at a game, Ohio State, Indiana, I think it was a couple of years ago, in Columbus. And Marv had a catch on the sidelines, and I'm sitting here thinking, oh, he's out of bounds. Literally, I told my wife, I'm like, oh, he's out of bounds. Like, he's not going to catch the ball. Next thing I know, it's a catch first down. We look at the replay, look at the video board, and we're like, how in the world did he do that? Because he literally had his right foot was out of bounds, on the out-of-bounds side, was still up. He lifted that up and then put his left leg down while he's moving his right leg. I'm like, who does this? Marvin Harrison Jr. does. And so I think the body control and the hand, sorry about that. But those two things are why I do think I would give him the nod over the other two. But we're splitting hairs on the three. Like, if it's Olave, if it's Garrett Wilson, if it's Njigba, all three of those guys are elite receivers in college and have a really good shot to be elite in the NFL as well. So I was splitting hairs here, man, but Marv is just different, man. It was fun to watch him.
Yeah, so this is an inside baseball, just nerd out question I have. Before we pivot to the NFL, I think this is a perfect transition, and you alluded to it. Was he putting 2 feet down to catch these balls on the sidelines? Because, here's the thing. I know it's different. Usually NFL guys are ready just to do that. They just do it instinctively. Because nowadays, especially outside receivers, you've got to have that wizardry in your blood to contort and do things that humans shouldn't be able to do to be accepted as elite. Like OBJ was a guy who kind of started this weird, flashy outside wide receiver trend where it's like, that's not supposed to happen. And then now everybody does it who's a star outside receiver. Was he putting 2 feet down and contorting his body in college? Or is that something he's going to have to adapt to as he gets to the NFL?
It'll be something he has to adapt to. And honestly, I think it's something that it would be expected. Now, I don't cover an NFL team. I have before, but not in a long time. So I don't know what that normal transition is from an elite guy in college to the NFL. I'm long from that part of my career. However, I do think it's something he'll have to adapt to. 2, I think he'll be able to do it. Now, it won't be 100% perfect every time, but I do see him being a guy with his work ethic, with his ability to work on the little nerd details that he needs to. I do believe he'll be able to work on those things and figure it out quicker than most.
I love that so much because that's what you want. You want an absolute football dweeb playing wide receiver because that's all. There's so much film deep dive that could be done with your opposing. And the beauty of it is the majority of NFL teams already have, veteran corners and veteran safeties. Yeah. There's already film at his fingertips to be able to watch, unlike vice versa, where nobody's ever seen him play on an NFL field yet. Jay Stevens, Locked On Buckeyes, joining me here. First episode of this series, rookie roll call. Well, let's pivot to the NFL. And I want to get your thoughts first on between the ears regarding the Fanatics thing. Maybe you can add a little context to that. And if there's any diva inside him, there definitely wasn't for his dad. For his son, we'll see. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Final segment next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Yahoo Finance. Wouldn't it be great if you could see all your investment and retirement accounts in one place? With Yahoo Finance, you can consolidate your views from multiple accounts into one hub and access the expert analysis you need to tend to your entire portfolio with confidence. For more than 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. Whether you're a seasoned investor or looking for extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and data you need in one place. They are the #1 finance destination, producing a holistic look at the financial news cycle, including breaking news, original editorial perspective, analyst ratings, independent research, customizable searches and charts, and so much more. Securely link your brokerage accounts to a unified view of your wealth, including 401ks and other investments. A comprehensive perspective is what sets apart great investors, and it's how Yahoo Finance ensures you have the insight to look at your wealth in its entirety. With a community of over 90 million users each month, their real strength is helping you on your way to financial success. For comprehensive financial and analysis and news, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com, the #1 financial destination, yahoofinance.com. That's yahoofinance.com. All right. Final segment, Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, free wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Go to YouTube channel, man. Search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Have a really fun partnership coming up with one of my dear friends that I'll be able to officially announce next week, I believe. So keep locked in for that. Jay Stevens, Locked On Buckeyes, joining me here at JStevens07, does great work over there. Marvin Harrison Jr., drafted #4 overall, big smile on his face, ready to rock. For those that are too young, and makes me throw up, who have watched his father play, Marvin Harrison, I could not tell you what his voice sounds like. That's how quiet and reserved Marvin Harrison was. But what he did have was one of the most beautiful, iconic relationships with a quarterback in the history of the sport. All they did was reps. That's all they did. You hear Tom Brady and Julian Edelman and Gronk now because it's funny. It's like they worked harder than everybody else. That's Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning times 10. If he has 70% of the work ethic that his dad did, the Cardinals are going to be in good shape. Now, between the ears is a big thing, Jay. For wide receiver drafted that high, the expectations are going to be there. I believe the Cardinals have a safe and pillowy enough, just team and organization as an entity to be able to help him and not force him into action right away where he has to have, 1,000 receiving yards in the first 10 weeks for them to win. Talk to me about how you believe he's going to handle the mental part of this with all of the expectations, tagged to him going so high in the draft.
So you so well described the relationship that his dad and Peyton Manning had. And you saying, Alex, that you don't know what his dad sounds like, what his voice sounds like, I think that speaks volumes about what you might be able to expect from Marvin Harrison Jr. What I would expect, but if I'm a Cardinals fan, I don't know anything, but all I know is his dad was a dog for the Colts. Him and Peyton Manning had an elite connection, and all they did was reps. You know what Peyton Manning sounds like. He's a face of numerous things. He's all over the place. Right. His dad did an interview after Marv got drafted and literally was so uncomfortable that he kept talking when he wasn't supposed to talk. And so that's not his fault. He's just not comfortable with that type of spotlight, even though he was on that spotlight for the Colts. I think his dad's mindset is going to help Marvin Harrison Jr. transition to the NFL. Now, Marv will talk more than his dad. Many Cardinals fans, you know what his voice sounds like already, so we're already checking off that box there. But I do think his dad will help him with the media, with people like you and I. Like, we want to talk to him. We want to get all the nitty-gritty. We want to, like, poke a little bit. Well, dad will help him with the things that we want to learn and how he should respond in those situations. Now, Marv also in a different sense is different than dad, because Marv is coming in and already made a couple $1 million at Ohio State. Probably this past year, a couple of mil, probably made a mil the year before. So he's not having to figure out how to be a pro with all this money being dumped at him. He's already had some money. Now, it's a whole lot more money in the NFL, don't get me wrong, than what he was able to get in college. But he's able to figure things out at a different age than dad. I don't see there being many mental blocks or mental obstacles to have to get over because of his maybe idiotic decisions that he occasionally makes, if he makes them. I don't see that. Mm-hmm. The one benefit for him is that in college, he was a workhorse. He was a gym rat. He was always working on his game. And now when there's no class to go to, it's just ball. It's just practice, and you're a pro. He's going to do the same thing, maybe a little bit more, and Cardinals fans will love the result.
Yeah, and I have this little thing in the back of my head, like they should just hire Marvin Harrison Jr. to be in the wide receiver coach room, or Marvin Harrison Sr. to be in the wide receiver coach room. There's maybe 20 receivers, 10 receivers, 12 receivers that are better than him in the history of sport, numbers-wise and accolades-wise. Couldn't hurt. Yeah, and that's fascinating to me. And I do want to ask you one more thing about the whole Fanatics suing and how he's spreading information on, I think it was the Pat McAfee show that wasn't right and all that stuff. In my opinion, this is dad saying, you're not going to get taken advantage of like many of my, employee friends, because they are employees. They get paychecks. They are the employees that they dealt with in the 90s, early 2000s, or, whatever, late 90s, early 2000s. It's like, listen, take a beat. You're going to make $100 million, every 5 years. It's going to be fine. Let's start this off right. Is that accurate? Do you think that's right?
Absolutely. That whole suing, and let's go back a little bit, because the suing came after the draft. Mm-hmm. Before the draft, I don't know if it was Tom Pelissero or Daniel Jeremiah, somebody reported that there's normally a contract rookie sign before the draft for the NFLPA stuff. I don't know all the details about it, but that's what I read. Marv hasn't signed it yet. And in my mind, I'm thinking, he's trying to be different. His dad is raising him and teaching him how to handle things in a different way to not be taken advantage of, like you just said. So in my head, literally, bro, didn't care at all. I'm like, okay, big people, big organizations, they got money, dad has money, dad knows how to handle this stuff. Cool, not a big deal. Mm-hmm. So now this coming out with the Fanatics suing, and okay, do I care? Absolutely not. He's handling things in a different way. Will there be things that he does that are wrong? Yes, he's human. None of us are perfect. But should I truly care about this? No. People get sued all the time, and it doesn't hit the ESPN, doesn't hit the Fox Sports, doesn't hit there.
Yeah.
To me, it's not a big deal. He's going to handle things differently. Did at Ohio State. He's doing it pre-draft, doing it post-draft. It's not a big deal. Now, it will be a big deal if it becomes a distraction, and if this stuff happens over and over and over, and it's multiple big companies, it's a sports book, and people are saying, wait, you were handling things different in college, cool. Handling things different pre-draft, cool. But now we're getting NFL partners that are pissed off at you because of the way you're handling your business, and because they aren't comfortable with the things you're doing, and maybe there's some things he's doing wrong. That's where I think the issues come in. But we're not there yet. That's possibly going to happen. But until it does, I think you can trust Marvin Harrison Jr. in the way that he's handling his business right now.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, it's systemic inside a human being to be a pain in the ass. Either you're a pain in the ass your entire life in some form or fashion, especially as a receiver. It's like, diva comes out very early, okay? And it can be hidden, like Antonio Brown for a decade, until you actually get paid. and not being a 6th-round pick out of Western Michigan, wherever the hell he went to school. And then, it comes out, he got $40 million. Then it comes out. That's a rarity. You go to Ohio State. You've got C.J. Stroud. You've got probably the best receiving core we've seen since, I don't know, Clemson with DeAndre Hopkins, Martavius Bryant, and Sammy Watkins. Like, they had something special there for a couple years. You would have seen it. So so that's the thing. It's like, if there were issues and then this, okay, character issues. The Cardinals drafted Darius Robinson, who's going to be episode 2 of Rookie Roll Call. He took some of his NIL money and started a charity for kids. Like, there is obviously something to who they're drafting. If Marvin Harrison Jr. was a jerk, I feel like the Cardinals probably wouldn't have drafted him.
Right.
And I think this is going to be an exception. This is a business decision and not a no, I'm more important in the rules decision. And I think you verified and solidified that for me. So that makes me feel good. Thank you. Jay, tell people where they can find you. Your coverage never stops of Locked On Buckeyes. We've got, it's one of the most important. Big Ten is going to be absolutely bonkers forever now. So good for you. So tell people where they can find you and everything included in what you do every day.
Alex, my guy, I enjoyed this. I always look forward to when we can get together and talk about ball, from Paris Johnson Jr. to Marvin Harrison Jr. I love it, man. Appreciate you having me on. You can follow me, everybody, on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at jstevens07. Email me, jstevens317@gmail.com, and Locked On Buckeyes every Monday through Friday, YouTube, Apple, wherever you get Locked On Cardinals, you can find Locked On Buckeyes. We're breaking down a lot of recruiting stuff right now at Ohio State. If you want to know who the next big receiver or next elite receiver is going to be that will emerge this year, can't say names yet, but it is a true freshman. We'll dive into that all off season. And with the wild and crazy Big Ten, trust me, I'm going to have my guys on the show to talk about that and break it down all summer long. There's no off season in football, y'all. There's no off season in the NFL. There's no off season in college football. And we are diving in and talking about all the things you want to talk about at Locked On Buckeyes.
Now that's a damn elevator pitch, baby. Alex Lindsay, Locked On Cardinals. Remember, without you, there is no me. I will talk to you tomorrow.